And like what I was telling the young people a little bit about my life, I am not ashamed to say that I'm a third generation from slavery. And I let everyone know that I grew up in a house that my grandfather built from scratch. He made his own concrete and all that good stuff. And the things that all 12 of us have accomplished in our own way
Right.
have been a testament to the people that raised us.
Yeah. Now, tell me, in addition to that, what are some of the other things that you shared with the young people today in our digital boot camp?
Okay. What I tried to parlay to them was it doesn't matter the circumstances you start out with. Um, I went to a school that had potbelly stoves, outhouses at the back, no running water, no heat in it. But yet, I have a doctor's degree, a master's degree. Um, I have was able to get a full scholarship as a sophomore in high school. First minority female, first minority period, to get a scholarship to Middle Tennessee State University when I was a sophomore in high school, and just never allowed the humble beginnings of my life
Right.
stop because we were not raised that way.
Yeah.
We were raised to be um, to have our own destiny.
Yes.
And that's what I was trying to let them know. It doesn't matter where you start out, it's where do you want to go.
Yeah. It doesn't matter the humble and the meager beginnings.
I'm gonna be real. All right? Real. What does that mean?
Don't be honest.
Down and dirty and honest. You know why? Because you're my future leaders. Now, I'm gonna give you a little background about me. I don't know your background, but it could be very varied. And a lot of times we have a tendency, I'm gonna leave it, you know, I'm always, okay. We have a tendency to believe that only certain people out of certain categories can be leaders. But the most famous leaders that have ever led the world came from humble beginnings. Now, what does that mean?
Less fortunate persons.
That's right. Because you know what makes a good leader? It's when you find something that needs to be done and no one else feels the bill to do it. And you rise. And you can rise from anywhere and anything. Now, you see me here, right? I'm a product of the 60s, so I've still got a little militancy in that. But
You said
What?
rich.
I still have a little militancy, you know. Angela Davis,
Oh, maybe.
no, a little defiancy from the 60s. Now, I'm gonna walk through here and I'm gonna show you some things. You see this right here? This is where I came from. That's the house I grew up in. No running water. Bathroom was outside. You prayed that a bug or some, when you sat down, wasn't trying to escape. Success is a mindset.
Success is a mindset.
It's a mindset.
Yes.
It's knowing, and one of the things I talk to them about is knowing who you really are if you want to be a leader.
Yes.
And I also gave them examples of tough decisions that I had to personally make as a manager and a compliance officer and an analyst with IBM.
Wow. And so when you're talking about the leader and knowing who you are and your own identity, you and your daughter have a nonprofit together.
Yes.
I congratulate you on that. Tell
Thank
me
you.
more about what your nonprofit does and the name of your nonprofit and some of the things that you do for our youth in our community.
Our nonprofit is Abundant Earth Global CDC. Abundant Earth is biblical. As you know, I have my doctorate in theology. And my daughter's very spiritual. So we wanted to give it a name that said anything that you do, you can acquire it abundantly. So don't sell yourself short. And you can go global because the ideas that we put into the universe can grow. And that's the reason why it's Abundant Earth Global. Because every time, like what you're doing now, I'm touching someone that's going
Yes.
somewhere else. It may inspire another person who may move to Atlanta,
Mhm.
use those same words. And then that person they talk to in Atlanta may go to New York. So the idea is global. What we do is our main thrust is to end poverty through education and ingenuity.
Education and ingenuity.
Right.
So along those lines with, like with the Asset Digital Boot Camp and along the lines with your global network with your young people, tell me some of the examples of some of the things that you do with the youth in the community.
I love it because I'm the teacher part of it. What we do is it's all volunteer. We do not charge the parents anything. We have a Saturday tutorial program that is Abundant Earth Success Academy. I am from a long line of teachers. If you look at the history of Cemetery, Tennessee, you will see that the people there who were all ex-slaves, excuse me, built their own school in 1870, ran their own school from 1870 to 1945 without any government help whatsoever. My grandmother taught there from the 1880s until the 1930s. So I grew up in an era where we still learned, we succeeded in life without computers or anything else. So what I call have patterned our Saturday tutorial program over is my 1880 school. We do not use pencil and paper and we do not use computers. And I have children that are on the honor roll now. And how do we do that? Well, think. How did people who could not read and write, with the help of Frederick Douglass and others at that time, build a school and teach each other? And within 10 years of coming out of slavery, they owned 85% of all the land that they had been enslaved on. So if we can learn that back in the 1880s, why can't we use that same principle of teaching now and let them migrate into computers and whatever? The reason why I chose not to use pencil and paper, if I write something on this paper and I make a mistake, I'm still looking at my what?
Miss,
Or if I take that paper and throw it in the garbage can and I look at that garbage can, what am I still?
my mistake.
My mistake. Where the ingenuity come in is your mindset. I can take my slate, wipe it off. I can start over until I get it right. And that's the part I think we're missing in education when we're saying over 67% of our grammar school kids can't read and write. Because we have not given them the basic of using their own brain in order to learn logic and how to matriculate through what they're seeing. I have first graders, a young lady, and I am also dyslexic, so I understand learning disabilities, that has learned cursive. She's now on the honor roll at West Side Elementary. And we have not opened one computer,
Not one laptop.
not one laptop.
And when it comes into this digital boot camp, and we're bridging the gap and tearing down these barriers so that they can have those opportunities and exposure, how important are the basics before we get to a computer, such as what we're teaching here at the Asset Digital Boot Camp, the emotional intelligence, the creativity, the having values? How important is that when we're talking about bridging the gap when we're talking about asset digital opportunities?
It is your foundation. A computer or nothing would have been envisioned if we hadn't used our own minds first. So we have to go back to the basics. And if you start looking up research, there are schools of thought now that say that we should not give a child under 5 or 6 years old a computer because we have not taught them to use their own mental capacity of how to think logically, how to problem solve. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Now, we also have a farm,
Mhm.
and I'm an old country gal, all right? Do you realize farmers are some of the most intelligent people? You know why? What do you have to do to farm? You have to know how to space out your rows. You have to know what chemicals to put into the ground to make your plants grow. You have to know how deep to put a seed. What am I teaching you now? I'm teaching you math.
Mhm.
I'm teaching you writing. I'm teaching you multiplication, subtraction, addition. I'm still teaching you the basics, and you don't even know that I'm giving you the basic skills of reading, writing, arithmetic.
Yeah.
Right.
And those things are very important in our society. There, having that foundation, having those basics, having the values, having the ability to think for yourself, having that emotional intelligence and those critical thinking skills.
And I'm not an expert in this, but I do read a lot. If you notice, we have a terrible, other than a lack of an educational system that works. And I taught school from, that was the last thing on my bucket list I wanted to do professionally. So I did go into the school system around 2005 or so when Dr. Johnson was here, who convinced me to go in. And I taught up until 2016, almost about 10 years.
Mhm.
And first couple of years when I was taking the practice so I could become a full teacher, I realized that the school system was not going to allow me to teach. And I could not dumb my children down. So I never took the practice. Did you know that?
Mm.
So since I didn't take the practice, I just became a glorified sub for the rest of the time. People say, why would you do that? You had at that time you had a master's and you could have made this amount of money. It's not about the money. It's about what type of an individual am I losing behind to take my place?
The quality, yes.
The quality.
Yes.
Just for $1 from the federal government, why must I pass somebody that I know can't read and write? But yet you're telling me I have to do that? And these are my people?
Yes.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Where you are today in your life, where you are today in your life, doesn't mean you have to stay there. I did not have to stay in the cotton fields, did I? This house I grew up in, my grandfather built it with his own hands, made his own concrete. No running water, outhouse, we had to kill pigs to eat, bring in gardens, so we could have vegetables. Do you know what this house is now? It's on the historical register. My grandfather was first generation from slavery.
So that quality is important. And when we take the limits off of our creativity and allow our youth, the youth that we have, they're so creative. They have wonderful minds.
They do.
How can we better engage with our youth, such as the Accent Digital Boot Camp, such as what you and your daughter do in your nonprofit? What are ways that we can encourage our community to be more engaged in our youth
By
for
being-
empowerment?
By being honest with them, setting goals, reasonable goals for them according to the generation that we're living in now. And what I do, especially with the youth at my church, I teach them about me. And if I came up the way I did, you have no excuse in this day and age not to be successful on your level.
Yes.
I teach our group during our summer camp. We had about 30, 40 that actually came to summer camp at our place last year. And I teach them that they must respect themselves regardless of the situation that they're in. And I'm very firm with them. Very firm with them. We take them on field trips. I don't know if you know that. We take them to the movies.
Mhm.
We take them to see wrestling matches.
Yes.
We take them to rodeos.
Yeah.
I try to take my group of children somewhere other than playing basketball.
Right.
Because every time you say, we're getting this for basketball, everybody's not gonna be a basketball player. Everyone is not going to go pro. But if I can expose them to other things and other people, maybe some of that will say, oh, I can do that. That's reasonable for me. And the kids aren't frustrated. And at Gospel Temple, I used to have a program called Gospel Bucks.
Mhm.
I don't believe in charity. As for charity's sake, if you're not doing anything, I don't believe in welfare for welfare's sake. It is for used short term, and then you
Temporary.
move on.
And then you move on.
Generational welfare can be just as great as generational wealth. But we don't teach generational wealth, do we?
And that's the thing we should be focused on.
And that's the thing we should be focusing on. So when I was running the Gospel Bucks, they would earn money for book bags, and every time, how would they do it? If I got a report card, we paid you, but you had to put the money in the bank.
You have to
Just
do
a little
something positive and
positive.
constructive with it.
And then when we would open up our room where the supplies and things, once you come in and you buy it. That's mind changing. That's once again ending poverty through what? Education and ingenuity.
That mindset.